Finding the highest common factor with Adam Maths Tutor. Here are the beginner questions, some of the easiest questions that you're likely to find on this topic. To find the highest common factor of numbers, you first need to start by finding the factors of all of the numbers. Factors of numbers are those that divide exactly by a whole amount into that number. For example, starting with 18, and you'll always be able to start by multiplying 1 by the number itself. Therefore 1 and 18 are both factors of 18. In fact, 1 and 18 are both cofactors because they multiply to give you 18. If you list factors using cofactors and pairs, this will encourage you to include all of them and not miss any of them out by accident. Next, we can move on to 2, and I know that 18 divided by 2 is 9, or 2 times 9 is 18. Next, I can move on to 3, and I know that 3 times 6 gives me 18. Next, I can move on to 4. Now 4 cannot be multiplied by a whole number to give you 18, so therefore 4 would not be a factor. 5 does not divide a whole amount of times into 18, so therefore 5 is not a factor. We don't then need to continue and try 6, because the method that we've used means that we've already done 6 and all of the other factors that would have appeared above that number. Now we've finished with 18, we can do the same with 24, starting with 1 multiplied by the number itself. 2 multiplied by 12 gives me 24. 3 multiplied by 8 and 4 multiplied by 6. 5 does not divide into 24, and you can see that I've already covered 6 and all of the other factors that would have appeared after that number. Once you have all of the factors listed, you can then start to identify which ones of them are common. So with these two numbers, you can see that we have quite a few common factors. We have 1, 2, 3, and 6. And because we need to find the highest common factor, we'll need to look for the largest and can ignore any of the others that are below the highest common one that we have, which is 6. So therefore the highest common factor of 18 and 24 would be 6. On to the next question, where we're finding the highest common factor of 12 and 36. Listing the factors of 12, 1 times 12, 2 times 6, 3 times 4, and then listing the factors of 36, 1 times 36, 2 times 18, 3 times 12, 4 times 9, and because 36 is a square number, we can also list 6 times 6. When listing factors, we don't write the same one down twice, so in this position we can just put 6 underneath like this. In this case, the highest common factor between both numbers would be 12. What this example shows is that your highest common factor could actually be one of the numbers that's given. On to the intermediate questions with a slight increase in difficulty. It's possible to find the highest common factor of more than 2 numbers. In this example, we're finding the highest common factor of 36, 48, and 60. Start by listing the factors of 36. This we have already completed from one of the beginner questions. Next, we'll list the factors of 48, 1 and 48, 2 and 24. 3 is often a number that's missed out when finding factors of 48, and that's because you don't often learn your times tables up to its cofactor. If you're ever unsure, you can check to see whether something is a factor by dividing by that number. So 3's go into 4 once with a remainder of 1, and then 3's go into 18 6 times with no remainder. Therefore you can see that 3 and 16 will give you 48. 4 and 12, and lastly 6 and 8. Finally, listing the factors of 60. Once all of the factors are listed, we can see the highest common factor between them is 12. On to the next question. Adam is using blue and pink ribbon on his artwork. He has 63 centimeters of blue ribbon and 91 centimeters of pink ribbon. He wants to cut the ribbon into pieces, so each piece is of equal length and as long as possible. Here you can see that these numbers or amounts of ribbon need to be cut down or divided into equal amounts, which are whole numbers. So this will involve factors. And as we want them to be as long as possible, that will involve the highest number or the highest common factor between the two of them. Let's start by listing the factors of 63 and 91. Once listed, we can see the highest common factor is 7. meaning the longest that we can make each piece of equal length would be 7 centimeters. For the second part of the question, we need to write down how many pieces of each color will he have at the end. For this, we can just look at the cofactor, or the number that goes with 7. So cutting 63 centimeters into equal pieces of 7 centimeters will leave you with 9 pieces at the end. So 9 blue. And then cutting the pink into 7 centimeters would leave you with 13 pieces. On to the advanced questions, some of the more difficult questions that you're likely to find on this topic. When finding the highest common factor of larger numbers, such as 108 and 126, this can prove quite difficult because most people only know their times tables up to 12, so it's quite difficult to know whether something like 14 or 16 would be a factor of these numbers, which means we're a lot more likely to make mistakes or miss them out. Instead, you can use an alternative method involving the product of prime factors. So we'll start by writing down the product of prime factors with 108. This was something covered in my last video. Once you've found the prime factors, we can write them as a product without simplifying. So for 108, we'd have 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3. And for 126, we'd have 2 times 3 times 3 times 7. To find the highest common factor, we need to look for the prime factors which are common between both numbers. I have a 2 that's in common here, a 3 that's in common here, and another 3 that's in common here. Once we have them paired up, we multiply these pairs together to give us our highest common factor, which in this case would be 18. On to the last question. Sometimes they've already found the product of prime factors for you, but will give it to you as a simplified version. You may find it easier to write these unsimplified so that you can match them up in pairs. So A would be 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. B is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 7. Looking for the ones in common, I have 2, 2 and 3, meaning my highest common factor would be 2 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 3, which is 12. Here's a question I've completed. It appears as though I've made some mistakes. Pause the video and let's see if you can find them or write some corrections in the comments below. Thanks for watching. If you found that video useful, don't forget to hit the like button and leave a comment. If you're struggling with topics or finding maths difficult, subscribe and turn on notifications to receive regular updates about new video tutorials and other useful content. You can visit and follow all of my socials by clicking the links in the description below.